You need to watch this if you crave chills down your spine. Welcome to Soul Studios. Here, true crime meets the unknown. Suspense lurks in every shadow, and supernatural forces whisper from the dark. We craft chilling, edge-of-your-seat short stories inspired by the eerie, the unexplained, and the most haunting mysteries. 3 new stories drop every week, each one darker than the last. Are you ready to step inside? Subscribe now before the next story finds you.
In October 2024, Alex and his friends were just typical high school seniors, scrolling TikTok and joining viral trends for fun. But when they stumbled onto the Eyes Up Challenge, a seemingly harmless dare to stare into your phone camera at night without looking away, things took a terrifying turn. What started as an innocent thrill quickly spiraled into chilling encounters, strange shadows, and an online phenomenon that blurred the lines between the digital world and something far darker. Before they knew it, Alex and his friends found themselves at the center of a viral mystery they desperately wish they'd never uncovered. If you love spine-tingling, true-style supernatural horror stories that expose the hidden dangers behind viral internet trends, hit subscribe to Soul Studios now, because some videos are better left unwatched.
I never thought a silly TikTok trend could nearly ruin my life. If you had told me a year ago that I'd be afraid of my own phone, I would have laughed it off. But that was before the Eyes Up Challenge. My name is Alex, I'm 17 years old, and I live in a quiet suburban town. This story happened just last fall, around October 2024, and even now I still get chills thinking about it. Back then, my friends and I were just typical high school seniors trying to have some fun. Viral challenges were practically a routine part of our lives. From goofy dances to weird dares, we had tried a lot of them. So when we first heard about the Eyes Up Challenge, none of us suspected it would be any different. It seemed like just another internet fad, the kind you'd scroll past on your For You page and maybe try out of boredom. We were so wrong. The hashtag Eyes Up Challenge started innocently enough. It was trending on TikTok and everyone was talking about it at school. The idea was simple. Record yourself keeping your eyes fixed on the camera without looking away or down, no matter what, for a full minute. People were using a specific creepy audio track that came with the challenge, some kind of eerie music with a faint whispering in the background. Supposedly, if you made it to the end without breaking eye contact, you won the challenge. It sounded easy. Harmless, even. We thought the worst we'd get was a jump scare or maybe some mild bragging rights for not flinching. We had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. It all began on a Thursday after school. My best friends, Tyler, Jade, and Riley, and I were hanging out in Tyler's basement, which was basically our regular spot. We were sprawled out on old beanbag chairs, scrolling through TikTok and showing each other whatever funny or cool videos popped up. I remember Jade's eyes lighting up when she stumbled on a video tagged Hacked Eyes Up. "Guys, check this out," Jade said, turning her phone screen toward us. The video showed a girl about our age sitting in a dark room, illuminated only by the glow of her phone. The creepy audio track was playing, a soft, static-laced lullaby with whispers that you couldn't quite make out. The girl in the video was staring straight at the camera, eyes wide. For most of the minute, nothing happened. Then, at the very end, the girl suddenly gasped and the video cut off abruptly. We looked at each other, confused. "Did I miss something?" Riley asked, raising an eyebrow. We replayed the video, squinting at the dim screen. At first, it looked the same, just a girl staring, then that jarring ending. But on the second watch, I noticed something that made me shiver. Just a split second before the video ended, the shadow behind the girl seemed to shift. It was as if something moved in the darkness right over her shoulder. Tyler scoffed. "It's probably just her brother trying to scare her or something." "People will do anything for views," he said. He was always the skeptic of the group. Jade, on the other hand, was intrigued. "This thing has millions of likes, and everyone in the comments is freaking out about how spooky it is," she said, scrolling through the comments section. A lot of the comments were joking, stuff like "I bet her cat jumped out," or "POV, when your mom walks in." but a few stood out. Some people were claiming the challenge was cursed, or that they saw something watching the girl in the video. That only made us more interested. We were bored and in the mood for a thrill. It was a school night, but none of us had much homework, or at least we weren't doing it. So we came up with a brilliant idea. We'd try the Eyes Up challenge ourselves. What could go wrong? It was only 5 p.m., not exactly witching hour. We had each other, and we had done dumb internet challenges before without any real trouble. This wouldn't be any different, or so we thought. Later that evening, after dinner, we gathered back at Tyler's place to film our own Eyes Up challenge video. Tyler's parents were both still at work, which gave us a perfect window of freedom. We piled into his basement, heartbeats already a little faster from the anticipation, and maybe just a touch of fear. The basement lights were flickering. They always did that, old bulbs. So for effect and to match the trend, we turned them off. The only light came from a small desk lamp we left on in the corner, and the pale glow of Tyler's phone. We decided Tyler would be the one to do the challenge on camera, since he was the most confident. "All right, let's get this over with," he said with a grin, propping up his phone against a stack of textbooks on the coffee table. The rest of us stood behind the phone, partly to watch, and partly to make sure nothing actually creepy or unsafe happened to him. Jade was biting her nails. Riley had his arms crossed, trying to look unimpressed, and I could feel my own palms sweating as I tapped the record button for Tyler. The audio began to play the same low, scratchy lullaby. Tyler sat on the old couch, leaned toward the phone, and locked his eyes on the camera. 30 seconds passed. At first, we were joking under our breaths. Riley whispered, "Boo!" trying to make Tyler flinch, but Tyler didn't budge. We all snickered. It felt like any other silly challenge. Around the 45-second mark, something changed. The basement seemed to grow colder. I remember noticing goosebumps on my arms. The music from the phone distorted slightly, the whispering growing a bit louder. I shot a glance at Jade and saw her swallow nervously. We fell silent, and an uneasy feeling crept in. Tyler was still staring intently at the camera, but I saw his eyes twitch. Later, he told us that he thought he saw movement in his phone screen reflection, like a shadow passing behind him on the couch. In that moment, though, he kept his cool. Another few seconds ticked by. Suddenly, there was a thump from somewhere upstairs. Maybe the plumbing or the house settling. It was an old house, after all, but it made all of us jump. Instinctively, Tyler broke eye contact and glanced upward toward the ceiling. Right then, the audio cut out. His phone screen went black as the recording ended a few seconds early. "Dude, you looked away. You lost," I said, letting out a breathy laugh I'd been holding in. I was mostly laughing at how tense we'd all gotten. Tyler rubbed the back of his neck, looking a little embarrassed. Yeah, that stupid noise upstairs startled me. Probably just the pipes," he muttered. He reached for his phone. "Let's watch it." We crowded around as he played back the video. The footage was pretty dark and a bit grainy. His phone camera wasn't the best in low light. On the screen, we saw Tyler staring for a while, looking totally fine, and then jump at the thump. The moment he looked away, the recording stopped. We must have stopped it right as he flinched. "Well, that was anticlimactic," Riley said, though I caught him exhaling like he'd been holding his breath too. Jade released a nervous giggle. "Maybe we should have done it at midnight to make it scarier," she teased, trying to lighten the mood. Tyler rolled his eyes. "I'm not doing it again. At least not tonight," he said. "But I'll post what we got. Maybe it'll get some laughs." He uploaded the video to TikTok with the hashtag EyesUpChallenge and a caption, "I lost lol." None of us noticed anything unusual in it at the time. It just looked like a failed challenge attempt. We flipped the lights back on, feeling a little silly about how spooked we'd gotten. Before we all headed home for the night, we made fun of Tyler a bit for chickening out, and he threw a pillow at me in response. Everything felt normal again. Just dumb kids messing around. As I walked home that night, I lived just 2 blocks away, the sky was turning a deep orange. Dusk was settling in. I had this tiny nagging feeling in my stomach, like we might have invited something weird by goofing off with that challenge. I shook it off. There was no way a TikTok video could actually be dangerous, I told myself. I had no idea how wrong I was. The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing on the nightstand. It was still early, a little after 7 a.m. I squinted at the screen. It was a barrage of messages on our group chat from Tyler and Jade, sent at like 2 or 3 in the morning. My heart skipped a beat as I sat up, immediately wide awake. Something was definitely off. Jade had texted, "I can't sleep. I keep thinking about that shadow behind Tyler. Did a guy see it, or was it just me?" I blinked in confusion. Shadow? Behind Tyler? We hadn't noticed any shadow last night in the moment or on the video, had we? I scrolled further up in the chat. Tyler had responded around 2:30 a.m. Tee, look at the comments on my TikTok. Somebody said they saw eyes behind me. My stomach flipped. I fumbled to open TikTok and went straight to Tyler's profile. There it was, our video from last night, already with a couple hundred views and about 30 comments. That was fast. The top comment, with a few likes, said, "Who's the creeper standing behind you, bro?" Another read, "I see them too. OMG, is this staged?" I felt the hairs on the back of my neck rise. It had to be some kind of joke or glitch, right? But it definitely looked like a person standing behind him for that split second in the video. And I knew none of us had been there. We were all in front of the camera, and the basement door had been shut. I quickly typed back in the group chat, "Just saw it. That's freaky. Meeting before class?" By the time I got to school, we all had the same panicked energy. We huddled up at our usual table in the corner of the cafeteria before first period. Jade looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept at all. Riley was unusually quiet. Tyler had dark circles under his eyes. We replayed the video on one of our phones about a dozen times, each of us trying to convince ourselves it was nothing. "Maybe it's nothing, like some weird lighting issue," Riley muttered, though he didn't sound convinced. Tyler shook his head. "I don't know, man. I feel like I would have noticed if someone was right behind me." He shivered. "Also, I had the creepiest dream last night," he added quietly after a pause. "I dreamt I was still in the basement, sitting in the dark, and there was a woman standing in the corner of the room, just staring at me. I couldn't see her face, but I knew she was looking at me. When I tried to turn on the light, she rushed at me, and I woke up." Jade put a hand on his arm. "It was just a dream," she said, though her voice wavered. None of us wanted to say it out loud, but we were all thinking the same thing. This was getting weird. By lunchtime, word had gotten around that we did the challenge. A couple of other friends asked if the video was real or if we faked the weird shadow to scare people. We just shrugged it off and played dumb. But I could tell even Riley was shaken now. I caught him rewatching that original TikTok it had shown us, the one with the girl, trying to see if that video had a similar shadow. It didn't, at least nothing obvious. It seemed to be just us. For the rest of the day, I felt distracted. I kept double-checking my phone notifications, half expecting another weird message or comment. Little did we know, the strange part was only just beginning. After school on Friday, we all but raced to Tyler's house, determined to figure out what was happening. Tyler insisted we meet at his place again. He didn't want to be alone there after that nightmare and the bizarre video. When I arrived, Riley was already there with his laptop, and Jade had a notebook out as if we were about to do a research project or something. Honestly, that wasn't far from the truth. We started by searching through TikTok for more #EyesUp challenge videos, looking for any signs of paranormal stuff or other people reporting what we saw. At first, we mostly found the usual clips, people giggling through the minute or trying to stare without laughing. A lot of them ended early because someone barged in or they got bored. Nothing creepy. No shadows that we could see. Try filtering by most recent uploads, Jade suggested. As we did, we stumbled on a newer video that caught our attention. It was a guy about our age, and he looked genuinely scared in the thumbnail. In his video, he was whispering frantically to the camera. He said something like, "If you're seeing this, do not do the eyes up challenge. I tried it, and now weird stuff is happening in my house. I keep seeing something in the corner of my eye. I'm not joking." The video cut off after that, and we noticed the account had no other uploads. We exchanged nervous glances. It wasn't proof of anything, but it definitely made us feel less alone in this. Riley, still clinging to reason, suggested maybe people were jumping on a hoax bandwagon to get views, like a mass hysteria thing. Remember the Momo challenge a few years ago? That was totally fake, but it scared a lot of people, he pointed out. I did remember that. Parents had freaked out over what turned out to be a hoax. Maybe this was the same kind of situation. A creepy idea that took on a life of its own. Jade wasn't so sure. She found a discussion on Reddit titled, "Is Eyes Up Challenge for Real?" The thread was only a couple of days old. One user, a Haunted Eyes or something, wrote, "I swear I felt a hand on my shoulder when I did it alone in my room, but nobody was there." Another claimed, "My power went out halfway through doing it, and I heard laughing. I'm actually scared." We read post after post, our faces growing more serious. One comment gave me absolute chills. "If you do the challenge, don't break eye contact no matter what. Something bad happens if you do." We all knew what happened in our case. Tyler did break eye contact when he flinched. So what? We summoned some kind of ghost? Because I looked away? Tyler asked, half incredulous and half terrified. Nobody had a good answer. Riley started looking up the origins of the challenge. Who started this trend anyway? After some digging, he found an article on a tech blog that mentioned the hashtag #EyesUpChallenge first gained traction about a month earlier, in mid-September. It credited a user named @EyesUpOfficial as one of the first to post the challenge with the now popular audio. But when we searched for that username, nothing came up, as if the account never existed. That set off alarm bells for me. Accounts don't just vanish unless they're deleted or banned. We did find a few re-uploads of what was claimed to be the original video from @EyesUpOfficial. It showed a dark silhouette of a person doing the challenge, but the video quality was awful. It looked like it had been recorded off another screen. In that clip, the person, or figure, completes the full minute without breaking eye contact. Nothing visibly scary happens, except at the very end, the person on camera whispers something that's hard to hear. Some people in the comments speculated the whisper was, "Eyes up," or "look up," said backwards or in some distorted way. We weren't sure. By now, the sun had set, and Tyler's basement felt a lot less cozy than usual. Jade suddenly gasped softly and held up her phone. "Guys, look at this," she said. She had pulled up a local news article from 2 weeks ago, one none of us had heard about until now. The headline read, "Teen Hospitalized After Viral Challenge Goes Wrong." We crowded around to read it. The article described a 16-year-old in a neighboring town who was found unconscious in her bedroom by her parents. She had been recording a TikTok on her phone when she passed out. The doctors couldn't explain what happened. She just slipped into a coma-like state. The parents mentioned a viral challenge to reporters, but didn't know details. My blood ran cold as I realized this sounded exactly like the Eyes Up challenge. The date of the incident was September 30th, right around when this trend started. The article didn't explicitly name the challenge, but the implication was strong. That was the moment I think each of us silently acknowledged we were dealing with something way above our comfort level. "Maybe we should just stop," I said, my voice almost pleading. "Delete the videos, drop it, and move on. Whatever this is, it's not worth it." Jade nodded vigorously. She had been terrified since last night, I could tell. Riley was still reading the article, looking pale. Tyler, however, was clenching his jaw. "And what?" he said. "Pretend none of this happened. We already opened the door. What if it doesn't just go away because we ignore it?" He had a point. Then he admitted something that made my stomach twist. After we left the previous night, he kept hearing a faint tapping on his basement window, but when he checked, no one was there. At one point, he thought he heard that lullaby music very softly, even though his phone was off. He ended up hardly sleeping. "I feel like it's following me now," he said in a low voice. "Maybe if I finish the challenge properly, it'll stop." His eyes were desperate. That idea scared me. The thought of him doing it again. But I understood his logic. We had read that warning about not breaking eye contact. Perhaps completing it would, I don't know, close whatever we opened. "If you're going to do it, you're not doing it alone," I said immediately. The others agreed. No way were we letting Tyler go through that again by himself. After a bit of debating, we settled on a plan. It was honestly a terrible plan in hindsight, but we were out of better ideas. We decided we'd meet back at Tyler's place just before midnight and attempt the challenge one more time under controlled conditions. All of us together, lights off, the way it seemed it needed to be done. We also agreed to do it at the most haunted time possible, thinking maybe that would, I don't know, satisfy whatever this was. It was Jade who whispered the obvious. 3 a.m., the witching hour. If there was any moment the spooky stuff would really happen, it'd be then. Maybe we thought if we confronted it head-on at the worst possible time, we'd get it over with. Or maybe some part of us hoped to disprove it entirely by seeing nothing happen. Either way, we had several hours to kill until midnight. We parted ways to go home for dinner, pretend everything was normal to our families, and make excuses for staying out late or sleeping over. I told my parents I was crashing at Tyler's for a movie night. They barely looked up from the TV and said, okay. I packed a flashlight, a couple of snacks, stress eating is a thing, and headed out, heart pounding with dread and determination. By 11:30 p.m., we were all back in Tyler's basement. The atmosphere was completely different from the previous evening. This wasn't casual fun anymore. It felt like we were preparing for some kind of exam or battle. We brought supplies, sort of. Riley had a high-powered flashlight and an old baseball bat, just in case, though in case of what, none of us could say. Jade brought her instant camera, the kind that prints photos on the spot. She thought maybe a photo would catch something the videos didn't. I had my pocket knife. Not that I expected it to help against a ghost, demon, whatever, but holding it made me feel a little less helpless. Tyler had multiple phones at the ready. He'd borrowed his mom's phone so we could have one device to play the TikTok audio and another to record from a different angle. The plan was to document everything. If we made it through and it turned out to be nothing, at least we'd have proof that we were just spooked by our own imaginations, and we could laugh about it later. And if it wasn't nothing, well, we wanted evidence of whatever did happen. We sat in a circle on the floor with the lights off, a single candle burning. Jade's touch, she thought it might help the vibe, whatever that meant. The basement felt cold and still. Our phone said 2:55 a.m. The challenge would start at 3. No one was really talking now. I could hear Jade breathing a little fast. Riley kept clearing his throat. Tyler was staring at the candle flame, jaw set. I was terrified, but seeing how determined and scared my friends were, I mustered my courage. All right, I whispered, breaking the silence. Let's run through it one more time. Tyler, you keep your eyes on the camera no matter what. We'll be right here with you. The moment the audio ends, we turn on the lights. If anything weird happens, we stop. Okay? Tyler gave a stiff nod. Got it. And if I start freaking out or something, just shake me or whatever you have to do, he said. I promised we would. We set Tyler up in the center of the room, on a stool facing his mom's phone, which was propped up on a shelf, with the front camera aimed at him. The phone was loaded with the TikTok sound, ready to play at the tap of a button. I stood behind that phone as the cameraman with Tyler's own phone, ready to record him and anything that might happen around him. Jade hovered near the light switch and had her instant camera around her neck. Riley held the flashlight and positioned himself by the doorway, maybe thinking he'd chase off something, or bolt for help, if we needed it. The clock on my screen hit 3 a.m. Tyler took a deep breath and said, I'm ready. Jade tapped the play button on the audio and quickly stepped back to join me. The familiar, eerie lullaby tune filled the basement once again, only now it felt much louder in the dead of night. I hit record on Tyler's phone, focusing on his face, which was dimly lit by the candle and the glow of the phone screen. He stared unblinking into the camera, determination in his eyes. I could see a muscle flexing in his jaw. The whispering in the audio began to intensify. 20 seconds in, everything was still normal. My heart was hammering in my chest. I kept darting my eyes between the phone screen and the room, scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. At around 30 seconds, the candle flame suddenly flickered, even though there was no draft. Jade and I exchanged a quick glance. The air felt heavy, like the room was pressurizing. My ears even popped. I steadied the phone, my hands already slick with sweat. 40 seconds in. That's when we all heard it. A soft tap, tap, tap coming from the small basement window high on the wall, exactly like Tyler described hearing the night before. All of us jumped, except Tyler. He somehow remained locked in, though I saw his jaw tighten. Jade clapped a hand over her mouth. Riley aimed his flashlight at the window, but through the dirty glass we could only see the bushes outside gently swaying. There was no one there who could be tapping. The tapping stopped. Tyler kept staring forward, though I could see a vein pulsing in his temple. The audio in the phone continued its whispery music, growing more distorted with static. My hands were shaking so badly I was afraid I'd drop the recording phone. 50 seconds. The whispering in the audio track was getting bizarrely loud, as if it was surrounding us. I started to make out what it was saying. It sounded like, eyes up, repeating softly, almost like a chant. My mouth went dry. Was that always in the audio? It felt directed at us now. Then, without warning, the basement door, which was shut and latched, creaked open about 2 inches. We all whipped our heads toward it. Riley, who was closest, swung his flashlight beam over the door. No one was on the stairs. I could see up into the dark hallway. We had definitely closed and latched that door. It was as if someone on the other side had gently pushed it open. Jade let out a little whimper. I heard the camera in her hands click and whir. She had snapped a photo instinctively of the door. The Polaroid's flash lit up the room for a split second. In that brief flash of light, I thought I saw something by the doorframe. A tall, narrow silhouette. But as soon as it appeared, it was gone. The photo ejected from her camera with a soft hiss. She left it to develop on the floor, too focused on Tyler to worry about it. 55 seconds. Tyler suddenly spoke, startling me. His voice was strained, barely above a whisper. "I see you," he said. For a second, I thought he was talking to us, but his eyes were still on the phone camera, unblinking, and I realized he was responding to something. "I see you," he said again, slightly louder. A chill ran down my spine because those words were not in the audio. It was like he was answering an unseen voice. I snapped my head to where his eyes were fixed, just the phone lens and darkness. Was he seeing something on the phone screen that we couldn't? The look on his face, I'd never seen Tyler so afraid. His eyes were watering, but he kept them open, wide and unblinking, as if he physically couldn't look away. The last few seconds of the audio felt like an eternity. The whispers were a chorus in our ears. "Eyes up! Look at me!" I was sure now that's what they were saying. At 60 seconds, the audio track ended. The lullaby stopped abruptly, plunging the basement into silence, except for our breathing and the faint buzz of the phone. I stopped the recording. Tyler had completed the challenge without breaking eye contact this time. It was over, or so we thought. For a moment, none of us moved. "Tyler?" I ventured softly. He didn't respond at first. He just sat there, rigid, eyes still locked on the now blank phone screen. It was like he was in a trance. I reached out and gently shook his shoulder. "Tyler, it's done. You did it," I said. His eyes finally flickered, breaking away from the phone to look at me. He let out a shaky breath, and I saw his face start to relax. Did it work?" he asked, voice trembling. Before I could answer, Jade screamed. Jade was pointing at the darkness just behind Tyler. In the dim candlelight, I saw it too. A figure standing only a couple feet away, right behind where Tyler was sitting. It was the shape of a person, but completely black, like a shadow had come to life in 3 dimensions. It was as if the darkness itself had gathered into a humanoid form towering over Tyler. Riley reacted first. Or maybe it was pure reflex. He shone the flashlight directly at the figure. In the beam, for the first time we saw her. It was a woman, or what had once been a woman. Her face was deathly pale, and her eyes were there, but they weren't normal. They were clouded over, milky, like the eyes of a statue or a blind person. Yet somehow I felt her gaze boring into us. She was wearing what looked like a tattered dress, soaked as if she had been caught in a storm. Her hair hung down in front of her face in knotted, wet strands. For a heartbeat. None of us moved or made a sound. We were all frozen by the sight of this impossible figure. She stood so still and silent that, if it weren't for the fact we all saw her, I would have thought it was a hallucination. Then she smiled. A slow, unnatural curl of the lips that revealed teeth far too sharp. My blood went ice cold. Tyler hadn't turned around yet. He was just staring at our horrified faces, confused and scared. "She's right behind me, isn't she?" he said, voice trembling. I don't even know how he sensed it, but he knew. Jade was crying now, one hand clamped over her mouth to stifle a sob. Riley's flashlight started to flicker, and he smacked it, trying to keep the beam steady on the woman. I finally snapped into action. I lunged forward, grabbed Tyler by the arm, and yanked him off the stool. "Run!" I yelled, my voice breaking. At that instant, the basement lights, which were off, began to flicker on and off by themselves, wildly. In the strobing flashes, it was like a nightmare come to life. The woman's figure appeared and disappeared in the bursts of light. One moment she was 5 feet from us. The next flash she was gone. The next flash she was somehow right next to us. Closer and closer, without ever seeming to move. We bolted for the stairs, practically tripping over each other. Tyler stumbled as I dragged him, but I didn't stop. Jade was ahead of us, already halfway up the steps, and Riley was right behind her. From behind us, I heard a hiss, an angry, distorted noise, and then the scraping of something heavy across the concrete floor. I refused to look back. Riley reached the door first and slammed into it. "It's stuck!" he shouted, frantically twisting the knob. That made no sense. We had left it ajar after it creaked open. It was as if someone was on the other side, holding it shut. Jade was right behind him, sobbing and pounding on the door. I shoved Tyler up the last couple of stairs, and he joined Riley, throwing his shoulder against the door. I could hear footsteps on the stairs behind me, slow and deliberate. A cold dread washed over me. "Move!" I yelled. With all 4 of us pushing, the door suddenly gave way and burst open. We spilled out into the kitchen, almost falling on the tile floor. I slammed the door behind us, and Tyler quickly locked it, then pressed his back against it as if his weight alone could keep her in the basement. We stood there in the kitchen, panting. The fluorescent light above flickered once, then stabilized. Everything looked normal. The same kitchen I'd eaten microwave pizza in 100 times, the same fridge covered in magnets and photos. But every few seconds, Tyler's body jolted against the door as something pounded on it from the other side. Bang, bang, bang. The wood rattled, and with each hit, the light seemed to flicker. "Go, go, go!" Riley hollered. He dragged Jade by the arm toward the front door of the house. I grabbed Tyler, who was reluctant to peel himself off the basement door, and yanked him along too. As we raced through the living room, there was a tremendous crash behind us. I glanced back and saw the basement door fly open and slam against the wall, as if someone or something had kicked it open with inhuman force. We didn't wait to see what came out. Riley fumbled with the lock on the front door, hands shaking, and threw it open. We practically fell out onto Tyler's front yard. The cold night air hit my face, and I realized I was shaking uncontrollably. It was about 3:15 a.m., and the neighborhood was silent. Everyone else was blissfully asleep, unaware of the nightmare happening at the Dawson house. We ran across the lawn and didn't stop until we were on the sidewalk on the other side of the street, illuminated by a weak orange street lamp. Only then did I dare to look back. Tyler's front door was still wide open, the interior of the house dark beyond. From where we stood, we could just see into the kitchen. The basement door was out of sight, but we could hear a faint bang, bang from inside, like something was knocking or hitting a wall. Oh my God, Jade kept whimpering. I put an arm around her, and she was trembling. Riley was breathing hard, eyes fixed on the house. Tyler was next to me, hands on his knees, gasping. A few agonizing minutes crawled by. The banging stopped. In the stillness, I realized I was half expecting to see that pale face appear in one of the windows. And then it did. Through the kitchen window, which faced the street, a face slowly came into view, backlit by the dim kitchen light we'd left on. Her face. The woman was inside the house, staring out at us from Tyler's kitchen window. Her head was tilted at an unnatural angle, those lifeless white eyes scanning the street, scanning us. That twisted grin was still on her face. She lifted one hand and pressed it against the glass. Even from across the street, I could see that her fingers were too long, stretching out against the window pane. Next to me, Tyler let out a choked noise. She was in his house. We were outside, but I wasn't sure that truly meant we were safe. The woman's other hand came up, and I realized she was holding Tyler's phone, the one I had used to film. As we watched, she very deliberately raised the phone and pointed the screen toward us. Even at a distance, I recognized the colors and layout of TikTok. She had navigated to the Eyes Up Challenge audio, and now she pressed play. That horribly familiar lullaby music began to play inside the house, echoing faintly across the quiet street. She was performing for us, it seemed, reenacting the challenge, but with roles reversed. Now we were the ones outside looking in, and she was the one staring without blinking as the music whined on. "Don't look!" Riley shouted suddenly. "Turn away!" It was like he thought watching it happen would somehow snare us again. On instinct, I grabbed Tyler and Jade and turned my back to the house. We huddled together under that street lamp, facing away, eyes shut tightly as the distant, muffled sound played. I could still hear the tune. I clamped my hands over my ears and started mumbling nonsense just to drown it out. The others did the same. We probably looked insane, but I didn't care. Eventually, I think after a minute or so, maybe when the audio would have ended, the music stopped. There was a loud slam, maybe the phone being thrown or the window shutting, and then silence. I opened my eyes and turned around. The kitchen window was dark. The house was quiet. The front door was still open, yawning like a silent black hole. We waited, watching, for a long time. Nothing moved. The porch light eventually flickered out, leaving the door in darkness. Only the street lamp buzzed above us, casting our long shadows across the road. Eventually, the four of us crept back onto Tyler's front lawn, but we kept our distance from the open door. We were too shaken to go back inside. Also, a part of me worried a neighbor might see a group of kids lurking and call the cops, and how could we possibly explain any of this? We ended up sitting on the grass across the street, backs against each other in a little circle, just waiting. Nobody said a word. What could we say? After a while, I checked my phone. 3:25 a.m. The night was deadly quiet, as if even the crickets and distant cars had gone silent after what happened. I checked on Jade's scratches in the streetlight. 3 red, angry marks slashed through the back of her shoulder, but thankfully they weren't bleeding much. Tyler was still shaking, whether from cold or fear or both. I draped my hoodie over him, and he nodded thanks. No one spoke. What was there to say? We were all thinking the same thing. Did we get rid of it? Is it over? At around 3:33 a.m., just as I felt the slightest hint of relief creeping in, all of our phones buzzed at once. The sudden, simultaneous vibration made Jade yelp. We all grabbed for our pockets. Each of our phone screens lit up with a push notification, a TikTok notification. My heart nearly stopped as I read the message preview on my lock screen. Eyes up, in all lowercase with the eyes emoji next to it. And it said it was from @EyesUpOfficial. I heard Riley curse under his breath. "You guys got that too," Tyler whispered. We all nodded, exchanging frightened looks in the orange glow of the street lamp. How was that possible? That account didn't even exist when we searched for it. And how did it send a push notification to us if none of us were following it? Hands shaking, I clicked the notification. The TikTok app opened, but then just showed an error. User not found. The notification vanished from my inbox as if it had never been there. I looked up at the others. "It says user not found," I said hoarsely. Jade was trembling, repeating "no, no, no" under her breath. Riley threw his phone on the ground in anger and fear, breathing hard. That moment made one thing painfully clear. This thing wasn't gone. We had escaped the house, but she wasn't finished with us. Not by a long shot. I fought the urge to smash my own phone then and there. Instead, I powered it off completely. The others were doing the same, Tyler even yanking the battery out of his ancient Android. One by one, we silenced our devices, and an uneasy stillness settled over the street. At last, around 4 a.m., we decided to tiptoe back into Tyler's house together. We stuck close, moving as a single unit, and every light in the house went on as we passed. The kitchen was empty, just as we'd left it, except for a few chairs knocked over. The basement door was wide open, hanging on one hinge. Upstairs, the hallway and bedrooms were clear. There was no sign of the woman, no wet footprints, no lingering shadow, nothing. The only evidence that something had happened at all, besides the red scratches on Jade's shoulder and our traumatized faces, was Tyler's phone lying on the kitchen floor where she had dropped it. The screen was shattered, perhaps from that loud bang we heard, but somehow it was still recording. I stopped the recording and saved the video, though I had zero intention of watching it right then. We carefully retrieved the Polaroid photo that Jade had taken. It had fluttered under the kitchen table. The picture was dark and blurry, but there, faintly in the center, we could see the basement doorway and a tall figure standing in it, white eyes shining. It wasn't our imagination. Exhausted and in shock, we all gathered in the living room as the first light of dawn crept through the curtains. Nobody wanted to sleep, and nobody dared to anyway. We just sat there, occasionally breaking the silence to reassure each other we were okay or to jump at some imagined noise. When morning finally came, we swore to each other that we would never mess with anything like that again. We also made a pact to stay off TikTok for a while, and to warn our classmates, quietly, not to try the Eyes Up challenge. We couldn't exactly tell them the full story. Who would ever believe us? So we agreed on a watered-down version. We spread rumors that we had faked the creepy shadow in Tyler's video as a prank, and that the challenge was actually causing panic attacks and freakouts. Essentially, we made it sound uncool and actually dangerous, in a normal way, so people would lose interest. Surprisingly, it worked. Within a week or so, most students at school had moved on to talking about other trends, and the #EyesUp challenge was old news. Online, we noticed the hashtag faded fast too. It was like whatever phenomenon had driven it suddenly dissipated. Maybe our incident scared enough people, or maybe by confronting it that night, we somehow broke whatever curse it held over the internet. TikTok even removed the original audio from their app, likely due to so many reports or something. If you search #EyesUp challenge now, you mostly get people talking about how it was so scary it got banned, or skeptics saying it was all fake. Fine by us. Let it become an obscure footnote in TikTok lore. As for us, well, life slowly returned to a semblance of normal, but we were not the same. Tyler ended up needing therapy sessions. He told his parents, and the therapist, that he'd been traumatized by a home invasion prank gone wrong. It was easier than telling them a ghost, or whatever, nearly got him because of a TikTok dare. Jade still has nightmares sometimes. She says she often sees those milky eyes watching her in the dark, in that half-dream state just before she fully wakes up. Riley, who never believed in anything supernatural, refuses to talk about what happened. If we bring it up, he gets angry or just leaves the room. It's like he hates being reminded that his logical world got turned upside down. And me? I haven't touched TikTok or any social media challenge since. I've become that person who tells everyone to be careful with what they find online. Paranoid? Maybe. But can you blame me? About a month after that night, I woke up suddenly around 3 a.m. I had that feeling like someone was watching me. The house was quiet, no wind, no creaking, but I noticed a faint sound, so soft I thought I might be imagining it. I held my breath to listen. It was the lullaby tune. That same Eyes Up melody, so quiet it was almost inaudible, but definitely there. It seemed to be coming from downstairs. My throat tightened. I crept out of bed and into the hallway, the urge to run warring with the urge to see if it was really happening. Halfway down the stairs, I could hear it clearly. The muffled, tinny sound of that cursed music playing in my dark living room. Every inch of me was covered in goosebumps. I edged around the corner and peered into the living room. The glow of a screen lit up the darkness. My phone, which I had left charging on the table, was awake, and the screen was on TikTok. I forced myself forward. There, on the screen, our video from that night was playing. The one I had recorded of Tyler at 3 a.m. But it wasn't playing normally. It was as if someone was holding a phone camera and replaying the video off a screen, because I saw in the on-screen reflection the outline of a face watching it. Not mine. Not any of my friends. It was her face, pale, eyes milky white, grinning, looking directly into the camera. As the audio whispered, eyes up," on my phone, I did the only thing that felt right. I lunged forward and hurled my phone to the floor, smashing it to pieces. The music cut off instantly. The screen went dark. I stood there in the pitch-black living room, my heart hammering so hard it hurt. For a long time, I didn't move. I was too scared to turn on the lights, too scared to do anything but stare at the shattered phone and the faint reflection of myself in the dark TV screen across the room, half expecting to see her behind me. Nothing else happened that night. Eventually, I picked up the bits of my phone and slunk back to bed, though I didn't sleep at all. We haven't had any more visits like that since. Maybe smashing the phone helped, or maybe she decided to leave us alone. I'm not entirely sure. To this day, we still don't know exactly what we encountered. Was it the ghost of some girl who did the challenge? Was it a demon that latched onto a trendy game to find victims? All I know is it was real, and it still terrifies me. I share this story not to scare you, though I'm sure it has, but to warn you. Most of the time, those viral internet challenges are exactly what they seem. Pointless stunts, harmless fun, maybe a minor injury if you're not careful. But every once in a while, something else might be hiding behind the hashtag. Something real and hungry and patient. We were just unlucky enough to find that out the hard way. So if you ever see a trend online that gives you a bad feeling, one that seems too creepy or too good to be true, trust your gut and stay away. It's not worth it. Believe me, I don't think I'll ever truly feel safe again. Not the way I used to before all this. Even now, I still get that prickling sensation on my neck sometimes, like someone standing right behind me. Every now and then, in the dead of night, I swear I hear the faintest lullaby, just for a second, and I freeze. I keep my eyes up now, not for a challenge, but to make sure that she isn't there above me, watching, waiting to make her move. And if one day I do see those pale, clouded eyes in the dark corner of my room, at least I'll know. It's not a dream, not a hoax. It's her. And the challenge never really ended after all. If you think viral challenges are just harmless fun, think again. Because once you've looked into the wrong screen at the wrong time, something might start looking back. And if you ever hear a lullaby playing in the dark, keep your eyes down. The #EyesUp challenge started as a trend, but the real challenge is surviving it.
La 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 la.
Every story has an end, but here the mysteries never stop. Thank you for watching and being a part of this journey into the unknown. Your support keeps these stories alive, and there's plenty more waiting for you. We drop 3 new stories every week, so if you crave suspense, the unexplained and the downright chilling, make sure you're subscribed and ready for what's next. Until then, keep your lights on, your doors locked, and remember, some stories stay with you long after they're told.